The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good morning. My name is Maria DeSabella, and I'm the training coordinator here at the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. We welcome those joining us live. We know some folks are on a delay perhaps because of our wonderful weather lately. So all of those folks today that are joining us and in the future, we're excited to have you. We are here today to talk about food that's in when school is out, the Summer Food Service Program. That is a critical program for young children during the summer. So I'm here with Dave Lloyd, our Youth Programs Manager. Welcome, Dave.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good day.
Very good. And we are also here with Diane, and I'm going to have Dave introduce Diane, and we're going to get started with our webinar. So here we go. Dave?
Good morning, and Diane, welcome. This is Diane DeBallis from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. She is the director of the Summer Feeding Program, and Diane, welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Good morning, everyone. On this sort of still overcast, snowy-ish day, but summer is looming, and so that's why we're here to get that idea out and talked about, and hopefully some of you, my understanding is some of you may already be Summer Food Service Program sites, while some of you that are sites might be interested in becoming an actual sponsor, and I'll explain what those differences are in a few minutes, as well as people on the phone who are simply interested in becoming a sponsor. So whatever the case, we'll explain, we'll give you some ideas, and I'll give you some information from the Department of Education's perspective so you understand what's required of you. And then David will go into some details for the food bank requirements. So the bad news, well, the good news is the program provides nutritious meals to low-income students during the summer when school is out. And that's the goal of the program in general. The not so good news is that only 15% of the children that are eligible for free and reduced meals during the school year are actually reached during the Summer Food Service Program. So there is a tremendous opportunity to reach these children and for growth, and that's where both PDE and the Central PA Food Bank would like to partner with you. So how do you begin? Well, to become or to look at are you eligible, there's a few ways to do that. You could be in a low income area because the school data makes that determination, or because the census data makes that determination. In either case, if you're willing to be a sponsor who has a site or sites that are open to anyone during the summer, then you would need to qualify and at least be in an area by the school data or the census data where 50% or more are free or eligible for free or reduced. And on this next slide, these are two links that can help you determine if the site location you're talking about reaches that eligibility. If you're in an area and it doesn't reach the 50% free or reduced eligibility, don't be discouraged. There are other ways to still participate in the program, and that would be through locations that are what we call closed enrolled, or maybe through an official camp. And those would require household income applications for each child in the program. And when 50% of the children enrolled in the program, so you're running a summer computer camp for 30 children, and 15 of them you find are eligible because there's a household income application that either was submitted to you or provided from the school they attend, then all children in that program are eligible to receive meals for free as well as free reimbursement. So how do you get involved? I mentioned you could be a sponsor and you could be a site. This slide shows you the two differences. Sponsors are nonprofit organizations, should have a 501c3 status, and they work directly with PDE. The sponsors who has the agreement with PDE. The sponsor has all of the administrative responsibility. And that is a lot of responsibility, so that's why some of you that are currently sites prefer to remain sites, and that's okay. We partner you up with sponsors, whether it be the Central PA Food Bank or someone in your local area, when the administrative responsibility maybe becomes too big of a burden. But as a sponsor, there's a variety of organizations. There's anything from school districts to libraries to YMCAs, the food bank like we're sitting with, Salvation Army, Parks and Recreation. So the stigma has always been, or is, that you need to be a school to be a sponsor, and that is not true for the Summer Food Service Program. Sites, on the other hand, are the locations under the sponsor where the meals are actually served. So we have some sponsors that are a one sponsor, one site location, and that's who they are, where they are, and that's it. And we have others, like the food bank, who are a sponsor and have many, 80, maybe 90 site locations in many areas. So there is a variety of the type of sponsor, how large you can be, but keep in mind, sponsors are the organization, they have the administrative responsibility. Sites are basically the location where meals are served. So this slide has a lot of things on it, and not to confuse you, but the sponsor's responsibility. So we're now at the point of talking again of sponsors, and I mentioned many of these things. They have the administrative responsibility, but they also find the sites, train the site staff, arrange for the meals that come to the site locations, maintain the paperwork. Is that administrative responsibility? They might find volunteers or find the staff for the sites, and they are the group or the organization that actually files for the reimbursement of the meals and receives the reimbursement of the meals. So that's what the sponsor does. The sponsor has access, once approved, to our online system called PAIRS, the Pennsylvania Electronic Application and Reimbursement System. This involves an upfront step of being preliminarily approved, and then gaining access to the PAIRS system, which is, it houses many things. It is where you would apply annually to be a sponsor of the Summer Food Service Program. It is where you would submit your reimbursement for the Summer Food Service Program. And it's also where we house much information, training, guidance to help you as a sponsor be successful. So let's talk a little bit about sites. I did say to you, sites are where the meals are served. They are where the children come to eat. The site must have a trained site supervisor. That is the responsibility of the sponsor, to ensure there's a site supervisor and ensure they are trained. Because we are a federal program, there are some conditions and requirements of both the sponsor and sites. And one of those is the next step, where meals must be counted as they're served. So we are, and you are, and the sponsor is responsible for serving the children a complete reimbursable meal and counting it as it's served. That information goes back to the sponsor to then claim the meals for reimbursement. Activities are optional, but the slide reads preferred, and that is because we found that draws many more children than when a meal served. But in some cases, that's not necessarily true, and that's something that can become the discussion of the site and the sponsor. But it is not required by PDE. There are indoor sites, there are outdoor sites. If there's any schools on the webinar, schools have a tendency to think they must be housed in a building, and that's the only place they can be. And I encourage summer or school food service directors to take off their school hat during summer, relax, which is what summer's about, and realize that sites can be under a pavilion in a park. Certainly indoors if you have the capability, but they're not required to be inside of a building. The other thing that sites are responsible for is ensuring that food safety practices are observed, and that becomes the responsibility of the site supervisor to oversee, but of all of the staff to ensure. So let me talk a little bit about the types of sites that are out there. And I think we have a slide missing, but I'll just talk. So I did talk a little bit about being an open site or a closed site. And there are actually 3 types of sites. And the reason I want to mention that to you is because that makes a difference for how many meals can be served at the reimbursable rate. So open sites and enrolled sites can serve 2 meals a day. They can serve breakfast and lunch, breakfast and snack, breakfast and supper. And so that is the reimbursement that can be received for those sites. Camps, on the other hand, and again, we do things, call them camps. We have a basketball camp, we have a band camp, we have a computer camp that's truly just a location where that one sole purpose is the purpose of the site. And those are called enrolled sites. That is for the group that's attending the computer camp or the band camp. However, if food service-wise that can be expanded to serve anyone, you're back to being an open site. Anyone can come, anyone's welcome. And thank you, Maria. There's that slide. Camps truly are day camps or overnight camps that can serve 3 meals per day. And they are reimbursed for 3 meals per day. So those are a little bit different of the differences between the types of sites that can exist. The slide that slide determines is back to using some of the links that I talked about in the first few slides and determining if your area is eligible, which is typically a blue area. Determine eligibility. Pink is open to all, and this particular slide will allow you to see what other sites are in your area. So just a reminder, hunger doesn't take a vacation. There's the contact information for PDE. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, contact us directly. We'll provide you with where to go, how to start the paperwork, and get you going for hopefully summer of 19.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Awesome. Wow, very good. A great overview. Dave.
Yes.
You're up.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, our wonderful folks that are joining us. Just so you know, we want to hear from you. If you have any questions for us, for Diane, please send us your question. There's a chat box, and we will answer those questions. If we would, right now you're in listen-only mode. If you would like to speak live, we'd love to hear your voice. We know you're out there. There's a little icon of a hand to raise your hand, and then we will unmute you so we can hear your question. So please, once again, there's a chat box. Send us your questions or comments, and we'll address them. But now, Dave Lloyd.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Diane and Maria. I'm just going to sort of review what we do here at the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. Diane has gone into several things about open sites and so forth. Basically, most of our sites, I would say 3/4 to almost all, are open sites, basically, and we do serve 2 meals a day, and we prefer basically doing breakfast and lunch. So we will definitely like to make sure that there are activities, even though it's optional. We do vacation Bible schools, which is only a week. As Diane mentioned, we do basketball camps and so forth. So we basically have sites in rural areas and also in urban areas. But we do find that most of our sites do have activities planned. As Diane mentioned, the enrolled sites, she mentioned they can serve up to 2 meals a day. Activities, again, are optional, but we would prefer to have activities. To get 50% of the enrollment must qualify. We can get this information from school districts, but they do not. They may give that to us, but they're not required by USDA and PD to give that to us. So it's a lot easier to have an open site. And basically those open sites, as we find in the pink shaded area on the capacity builder map, that helps us determine whether a site is eligible or not as far as an open site. As far as camps go, we do have a camp that we have that one, they get 3 meals a day, and they do have activities, and all their children are eligible for free and reduced price meals, so that makes it easier for us to serve them as a camp. As Diane mentioned, the eligibility standards get school district data, which is free and reduced price meals from the school district, or by proof of family income. And again, we'll just have a slide here that shows that we have open, enrolled, and camp sites. And as Diane mentioned, sites are where the children eat meals, and we will determine whether or not a site is eligible or not based on where it's located. Is it a safe environment and so forth. We will have site supervisors that are trained, and they will be there, and they do know the regulations of counting meals and making sure they're claiming the meals as a full unit. Again, we talked about activities, but we do prefer those. And we have indoor and outdoor sites as far as right now we have 104 sites that are eligible. So we definitely have both. And again, they're both in rural areas and in urban areas. As far as food safety goes, as I mentioned, we want to be in a safe location. Food safety would depend. We want to make sure cold meals are served at 41 degrees or below. Temperature, we have ice packs, whether it's an outside site at a Parks and Rec site. Indoor sites have refrigeration. All our meals are delivered in refrigerated trucks. We will go over the good health practices, making sure you wear gloves, making sure you're serving at the appropriate time. If we say we're going to serve from 12 to 1, you're serving from 12 to 1. And you want to make sure you have enough site supervisors to accommodate the number of children that you expect to serve. And we will be monitoring. A sponsor must monitor their sites. So we will be out to monitor the sites that we have just to make sure everything is in compliance. At this point, we might be out the first week. We're looking at, we may have to do that. There's a waiver in place that we may not have to, but then definitely be there the first 4 weeks of your operation. Allowable meal types are breakfast, lunch, an AM or PM snack, or supper. We have some sites that just do supper. We have some that do maybe just lunch, and we have many that do breakfast and lunch of those. We really do not do a whole lot of AM or PM snacks, but if you become a sponsor and would like to do that, you would be eligible to do that. Milk. Milk is served with all meals except for the snack. Of course, it must be 41 degrees or less. Milk is the requirement to go along with the meal. There is no substitutions for milk. Could be white or flavored. We use 1% white or fat-free chocolate or whatever flavor that we may have, but it's basically just chocolate. And 8 ounces equals 1 serving. There are school districts that have cookies and cream, strawberry milk, but we do not serve those. We'll just stick with the chocolate for the flavored milk.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So breakfast, a grain, could be a muffin, could be cereal. Basically, it's 3/4 cup of cereal or 1 slice of bread, which was equal to a muffin, 8 ounces of milk, and a 1/4 cup of fruit or vegetable, which would be 4 ounces or half cup of fruit or vegetable. As far as lunch and supper, of course, you would need grain, which we would use we usually use a whole wheat roll or whole wheat bread with this. Of course, the 8 ounces of fluid milk, fruit and vegetable. We usually offer a fruit and a vegetable, not 2 of each, and basically use fresh baby carrots, celery sticks, potato salad as a vegetable. The fruits, apples, oranges. Sometimes we use canned fruit like pineapples and so forth. The meat alternate. If it's a cold meal, basically it would be some sort of, turkey ham, turkey bologna, just turkey itself, turkey and cheese, as just an example. Hot meals, we do chicken nuggets. These are pre-plated. Could be spaghetti and meatballs, things like that nature.
How do the kids react to the meals?
Most of them they're very hungry, and they do partake. They do eat.
Okay.
They do eat. They are allowed to take their fruit or vegetable away from the site. Everyone must eat in a congregate setting, which I think is in a slide coming, but everyone must eat at a congregate setting, but if they want to take their fruit or their vegetable home, they may do that.
Okay.
But yes, they are very well received.
Very good.
So we want to make sure we don't have an excess of meals. We want to make sure if we know there's going to be 25 children, we'll send 25 meals. Sometimes the count may increase, so we'll increase it for the next day, or it may not be as many, and we will maybe decrease the next day. We want to make sure every child is able to get a meal. We just don't want to send 100 meals to a site that only has 25, because you can only claim 2% of seconds, and that doesn't go very far. If meals come damaged or spoiled, we definitely would not serve them. We have high standards. Both our vendors, both up north and down here in the southern region, have high standards. So you want to make sure you hold and serve food at the correct temperatures. Any cold food should be 41 degrees or lower. Any hot food needs to be 135 or higher. And we have to make sure that we're not trying to overclaim more meals than the cap has been set for a PDE. If we have a cap of 40 meals, that's as many as we can serve at that site. And then we just have to make arrangements to change that, and we submit the changes in our application. Any of our sites will have a Justice for All poster. We do not discriminate, and we want to make sure that our sites do not discriminate.
There is a question.
Okay,
Dave.
okay.
All right.
Go ahead,
Thank you
please.
for your question.
Could be either Diane or myself.
Yes, it is. So, Carrie, thank you for your question. She is asking about, they are part of the Chambersburg School District, and they are a backpack program. Thank you for that. And they work with South Hamilton Elementary. Does this site qualify? And she's asking if it can be an open site. So that's a great question, Carrie. So hang on one moment for Dave and Diane to address.
Carrie, I do know that the Chambersburg School District they are their own sponsor for summer feeding. Basically, off the top of my head, I do not have their statistics as far as free and reduced, but it can be an open site if the school district determines to do that. I think all you would have to do is contact the school food service director, and they would be able to give you the information that you need. That would be very helpful to be a site of theirs.
That's correct, Dave. And Carrie, I too am not off the top of my head, do not know the most recent building data. It was just posted. But Chambersburg can decide based on the Hamilton Elementary if their school data or possibly the census data qualifies them to be an open site. And then, of course, that's what you need.
Good
Thank
question.
you very much for the question.
Thank you. And let's pause for a moment. Any other questions at this point on any meals served, anything, paperwork, anything that you would like to ask our wonderful experts? It's okay. It's a good group. That's okay. We'll keep going, Dave and Diane.
The flexibility of our meals should be next. You have the option to serve as many days during the week that you would like. We do have some sites that serve on a Saturday, so that might be the only day that they serve, but we definitely have a lot of sites that serve 5 days a week. As I mentioned, it may only be a vacation Bible school that is 1 week. We have sites that go all summer long that, as I mentioned, it can serve the entire time school's out. As soon as school is out, we're serving those sites, and then they're stopping maybe a week or so before school, if that. Hot or cold meals are eligible as long as they meet the requirements with the right components. And if any of you are sites that like to go on field trips, or if you're going to be a sponsor and you know your sites are going on field trips, we just have to let PDE know. And we will, if you are a sponsor, you will let them know that these days you will not be at the site because they send monitors out also, and they do not want to make a wasted trip 2 to 3 hours away and then no one is there. So we do need to know when field trips are going to be planned. As I mentioned, food has to be eaten in a congregate setting. And once the children decide that they're finished, they may, take their fruit or vegetable home. Also, at most of the sites, we do have a share table. So you may have a child that will be eating at a site, and all of a sudden he doesn't like his carrots or does not. So he may put those carrots on a share table. Once he takes a complete meal, and then someone else will be able to pick up those carrots up that they, may like those. And there's no waste, so you try to keep waste to a minimum if you can. So these are a couple of rules that we find throughout the state, and Diane may comment on some of these also. Site supervisor must be present during service. They must be there during the whole meal service time because they're the ones that are going to probably be taking the meal count. Meal count has to be accurate, has to be end of the serving line, so they can check to make sure that the child has all the components that are required. They must eat on site, as we mentioned, but can take their fruit and vegetable with them. Milk has to be served at all meals. It is a requirement. It cannot be not served. If the child does not want their milk, again, that can go on the share table. As I mentioned, counting and document all meals. This way it'll support a reimbursement to PDE. And as a sponsor, if you decide to become a sponsor, you must update the pair's website, as Diane mentioned, throughout the summer, and that could be a daily occurrence. So this is just a repeat of what we have talked about. You want to make sure you follow the meal pattern for summer food service, milk at all meals, health and safety regulations, which we will guide you or your sponsor will guide you on what those health and safety regulations are. And it's basically wearing gloves and serving food at the proper temperature, making sure you have a site supervisor that's been trained. All the site supervisors must be trained. Again, children eat at the site, count the meals as they're distributed, and if it's going to be an enrolled site, we just have to establish the eligibility of children at the site. That is it for me, Diane or Maria, or anyone else have any questions? Thank you for attending. And Maria,
I know. Fast and furious. It sounds so easy, and it is. It is. For sites, it is. It's a fantastic thing for schools or camps or rec commissions to be serving these meals to help these children. Staggering statistics. We want to help those children over the summer. So how about those that are participating? A show of hands of, please raise your hand if you're interested in finding out your next steps. What are the next steps and how would you like to participate? So raise your hand if you're interested in finding out more information. All right, Marissa, we got you. Willetta, all right, bright side, hello. All right, we have a couple hands up. Terry, thank you. Very good. And we do have a question. All right, let's see what else we have here. Any other comments? So Dave, what are the next steps for anyone interested? Here we go.
They can reach out to myself. My number and email address is on our website. And if you want to become a sponsor, I can explain those particulars, but Diane would be best, and we can refer you to Diane. If you would like to become a site of ours, you would just need to let us know that also. But before I get into anything else, I'd just like to remind the folks that are on the call, we're having a Summer Food Service Summit. It'll be on March 29th from 9 to 2 at the Bataan Building here in Harrisburg. And if you would like to receive an invite, in fact, we do have your email addresses here. We will send you an invite to make sure you will participate. Diane will be there with her expertise, and we'll have a couple panel discussions that will help explain the ease of being a sponsor or the ease of being a site. That would be your call. But again, thank you very much for your time. Maria?
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Diane. And as Dave said, we will be sending the invitation to this wonderful summer summit and follow-up materials. You'll receive a copy of this presentation. You'll get our wonderful recording as well. And any other questions, as we said, we will share Dave's contact information and also Diane's if you wanted to be a sponsor or a site, so that you have all of it contained, all the information relative. But we do have a few minutes. We have plenty of time. So if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to share, please do so at this time. Diane.
All right, I'll just add for purpose. This is Diane for purposes of the summit. If any of you are kind of on the edge, should I, shouldn't I, can I, can't I encourage you to come to the summit. One of the intentions of the summit is also to provide a platform for sponsors or to-be sponsors to talk to each other and to have some interaction so you can see what other people are doing and get some great ideas, find out what you thought might be impossible is not nearly as impossible as you thought. And people are so willing to share because it's really great to see the attitude of groups like this that come together with the same common interest of saying, let's just make sure kids are fed. So we encourage you to come to that, to the summits.
It is a great message, and that's what we want to do. We just want to keep feeding kids throughout the summer. So we thank you for your time, Dave. We thank you, Diane. We thank you for those that were able to join us live and for those that are going to join us in the future for follow-up sessions. We appreciate all that you do for your agencies, for all the children. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Probably off.